and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about a new eyeshadow palette that is about to launch from Touch of Glam Beauty. It is the Not Your Basic Batch palette. It is a 9-pan eyeshadow palette and you can see the shadows are removable. I don't remember if Touch of Glam Beauty has ever had eyeshadow palettes like these before, so this might be the first one, but don't quote me on that. But it is nice to see them switch it up, as I know that single eyeshadows are not necessarily just everyone's cup of tea. And this video is sponsored by Touch of Glam Beauty, so thank you so much for working with me, especially in the past year. I am very thankful for the opportunity. And so this palette is launching January 1st and it will retail for $160, and you can use a coupon code to get 15% off, which will bring it down to $136, which makes it around $15 per eyeshadow pan. And these are full size, and also they are multi-chrome eyeshadows, so just think of it as you're buying 9 single eyeshadows, except they're already put in a palette. Now these are removable, but they do not have the names on the back of them, and I'm not sure if these will be sold as individual shadows yet, but if they decide to do that, I will put it down in the description box or in a pinned comment. So I'm going to be creating 3 looks with the palette, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. The first look, I want to go in with the shade up here. In the crease, I'm going to go in with this shade from the Editorial Brights from Viseart. Just putting that right into the crease. Going into the Neutral Mattes from Viseart. I'm going to be using Viseart palettes because I just bought them during their Black Friday sale, I think it was, and I just want to get some use out of that. And I'm going to put that on the outer edge of that, and it's going to just lighten it up. I feel like my lid is a little bit dry, so it's kind of catching on a little bit. Going into the Dark Mattes palette, and I'm taking this shadow right here, and I'm going to put that onto the outer corner. And take it just a little bit into my crease. I am having quite a bit of fallout. Hopefully that will come off pretty easily. Taking a clean brush with just some setting powder and taking it on the edges. Also taking that plum shade underneath my lower lash line, but I'm keeping it very tight to my lash line, and I'm only taking about a third way in. I'm just going to go back in with a little bit more of that out here. Taking the J-Cat All About That Base Glitter Eyeshadow Primer. Just a tiny bit of that. I'm putting that pretty much almost all over the lid, except for the outer corner, and of course too much into the crease. Using the Refer 28 brush, and I picked up what you looking at. It has a little bit more of a tooth to it, so it's really good at picking up these kinds of formulas of eyeshadow that are just a little bit on the flaky side. I have definitely some fallout. I would recommend to do your base after your eyeshadow with these. I'm just gonna kind of push down and press it into my lid further with my finger. I put on the Pret A Porter lashes from Kiss, and here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm starting out with the Editorial Brights palette again and going into this purple, and I'm going to pop that right into the center of my crease. And I'm going to take this pink, and it's going to go into the inner crease, and I'm going to blend it into the purple. And just keep blending out the outer edges of that. Going into the Dark Mattes palette, I'm taking this even darker plum purple, and it's just going to go right onto the outer corner to deepen everything up. I'm going to take the other brush that I was using. This is the Refer 13, and just going to blend that out into a triangular shape. Putting on the J-Cat glitter primer, and just kind of tapping it on my lid. Refer 28 brush, and the shade Half Goddess, Half Hell. This one you can see is pretty flaky, and that's just going to go all over the lid. And I'm just going to applying pressure to really make sure that I kind of smooth it out, since it is on the flaky side. And I'm going to just take my finger and really push down. Taking that dark plum shade underneath my lower lash line to connect with the outer corner. And then I'm taking the bright pink underneath the rest of my lower lash line. isn't really an inner corner highlight, so I'm going to be skipping that. Here's a second finished look. I put on the Predator lashes from Kiss. I'm going to be using the Editorial Brights palette from Viseart. Going in first with this lighter blue, and that's going to go right into kind of the outer crease area. I'm going to be doing basically like a full cut crease situation. I want to use as many shimmers for this look as possible. So I'm just kind of lightly blending it. And then dipping into this purple. And that's going to go right next to that. And of course these can blend together very nicely. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of the blue. Taking the bright pink. And then this orange. Taking it all the way. I'm actually going to dip into a little bit of the yellow as well in here, just to kind of lighten it up. I'm going to go back in with a little bit of the pink. Taking a clean brush with some setting powder on it and just going over the edges. Taking some of the P. Louise paint in the shade 0.5. And I'm going to be using this to essentially map out first where I'm going to cut the crease. And it's getting on my lashes, which is awesome. And just taking it all over the lid. And now I'm going to work on cleaning up this edge. Making sure I create a wing. Taking this white shade, and I'm going to be setting the lid. I am going to be going in with a tacky primer, so definitely don't want to keep this wet because that could just create some potential issues since I have hooded eyes. Putting down some of the J-Cat glitter base, and I'm first going to put it on kind of on the outer corner so it doesn't dry down by the time I get to the inner lid. Picked up Not Today Satan, which you can see is pretty flaky. And I'm just putting that onto the outer edge here. Maybe you should put down a little bit more of the primer. J-Cat glitter primer on the next section. Taking Just Slay at 360. The shade definitely has a bunch of different sparkles in it. I feel like this blue doesn't look as dark as I thought it looked in the pan and swatch. And then the primer, the J-Cat primer over the rest of my lid. Just want to make sure you're not using too much either. Picked up Crazy and Lovable. That's going to go right here. Oh, that's so pretty. And then it's okay to disagree on the inner portion of my lid. Definitely quite a bit of fallout. I'm actually going to go in with my pinky and Not Today Satan and see if I can kind of build it up just a little bit. Definitely helps. And I'm bringing some of the J-Cat primer underneath my lower lash line. And I picked up Not Today Satan. And here's the finished look. So these are the same formula as their birthday collection. I do want to point out that Low Tolerance does seem a little bit smoother compared to some of these other shadows. And I feel like you can kind of see that from just like swatching them, how some of these are a little bit flakier, especially Not Today Satan and Half Goddess. Now it's not like a dry flaky, but they definitely are just a little bit like kick-uppy, and that means that there is some fallout. So I would definitely recommend doing your base before the eye look just so that you avoid any sort of fallout. Now because these are not like a dry, flaky formula. These don't accentuate skin texture. These do smooth out really beautifully. They pick up on a brush. I recommend a flat, toothier brush like the one I was using in the tutorials, also using your finger, but again, make sure you're not picking up too much. They are really metallic and really shiny and even sparkly, especially what you're looking at, and it's okay to disagree because there's some other kind of flex throughout those two shades as well. I do have some thoughts in terms of color story. Obviously, it's an all shimmer shadow palette, but I do feel like some of these are a little bit similar, and you can especially see that kind of straight on. There's slight tonal differences, but I do think if you use some of these shadows together, they might kind of just mix together. And these are all pretty mid-tone. I would have loved to seen a couple of lighter shade, maybe a little bit more iridescent kind of shades, or just topper shades where you can layer them over matte eyeshadows and bring out the different shifts. So those are kind of my two critiques on the palette. Otherwise, I think it's beautiful formula. As always, Touch of Glam Beauty really knows what they're doing with their formula. Just absolutely shiny, shifty, and sparkly. So thank you again, Touch of Glam Beauty, for sponsoring today's video. And let me know which look was your favorite, and if you plan on picking this palette up. Don't forget, it's launching January 1st. I will put all the detailed information in a pinned comment and in the description box. So that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribed. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.